Hey, guys, please, man. The early good night sleeps to the early good morning wake ups. My alarm goes off at 5 a.m. in the morning. I snooze it. Take an extra 5 minutes nap. Black child, black child, black child, wake up and smell the coffee. It's our last chance before we share the stage, before we go our separate ways. High school was not meant to last forever. These are the days when I was young. These are the days I remember I didn't know pain, when happiness was the only thing that flows in my veins. The only days when I admired the rain in the storm because after each and every storm there's supposed to be growth in the wind. These are the days when I was young but wanted to be old. Although I witnessed the old wanting to be young again, I never believed in the stories that were told. Hi, hello. I guess the school days in a uniform will forever be missed. The days when every banknote in my pocket seemed to be enough. The school days when the only important thing was to be marked present and be up to date with the schoolwork. Kids in school, like I was told, you need education to change the world around you. I got certificates in all kinds of qualifications, decorating my wall like an art gallery. My world has not changed except for the view of my room, with all the certificates hanging on the wall. But when there's an employment, nepotism is applied everywhere. And when there's a job opportunity, they only take their brothers and sisters. Hi, listen, listen, listen to me. I know a BCom accounting graduate who graduated but is selling sweets in the streets for a living. It is the daughter of that woman who picks up cans for a living. It is the son of that woman who sacrificed imali yabantwana, imali yasikhathini for the boy to graduate. Son who repeated a grade for more than twice. I mean, it cuts really deep to know that when you went to school and you still can't find a job. Dear government, this is my letter to you. I am a 37-year-old qualified unemployed worker. Hi, I am a qualified chartered accountant taxi driver. I am a qualified scientist street vendor. I am a very depressed qualified street bobo. So when I try to open something, when I try to do something, I get discouraged every time. Ngivula isitalekisi bakolotisa kodwa bangihleka. Ngivula ikhawashi bangihleka bambiza ngomalambane. I drive a taxi bambiza ngo-taxi driver. Kanti senzeni thina abantu bamnyama? What have you done in this world? Thank you. Wow. Yeah, sure.
Hello, everybody. Thanks to our opening act, Lalamani, all the way from Pretoria. Thank you for that wonderful poetry. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Nongu, and I welcome you all to Youthfest 2020. First and foremost, a big thank you to the hostel for allowing us this opportunity, and of course to all of you for watching and allowing us into your space. Remember to send through your questions and or comments by posting them as we go live here on Facebook or Zoom, and we will make sure that we get to them just before the end of our broadcast. Now, today, ladies and gentlemen, today in South Africa, we celebrate Youth Day. commemorating the Soweto uprising, which took place on June 16, 1976. We pay tribute to the lives of students and recognize the role of youth in the liberation of South Africa from the apartheid regime. On that note, I would like to welcome apostles, spiritual proteges, Regine, a peer educator currently studying public relations, Tonko, a qualified earth moving equipment mechanic and the director of a company called Pula Engineering. And last but definitely not least, our special guest this afternoon on the panel today, Mr. Clement Mhlanga. Now, for all of you, Mr. Mhlanga is a member of the Chartered Institution of Marketing in the UK, qualified financial planner, holds a BCom in marketing, among other qualifications, a true visionary, and an entrepreneur at heart. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's everybody on my panel?
I was doing good.
Great.
Hi, Almangu. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here today.
I'm also excited to be here with all of you. Good day, Mr. Clement Mhlanga.
Hello, sir. Hello, madam. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, sir?
I'm very great. My sister.
Lovely.
I'm humbled to be on your platform.
Great stuff. Now, for our first topic this afternoon, we are going to be diving deeper into skills development and how to address the issue of unemployment amongst the youth in South Africa. Now, I would like to start off with our proteges, just to give us an understanding of skills development and unemployment from a youth perspective. Regine, you work as a peer educator and run workshops, isn't it?
Yes.
What's your take on why qualified youth isn't getting enough jobs or isn't getting any jobs?
Okay, so Nongu, as you say that I run workshops. During my workshops, there's a topic that I run with called employability. And in this stage, we talk about CVs. We've noticed that a lot of us are qualified. We have the right qualifications, we have the right skills, but the problem lies within our CV and how we draft our CVs. So I'd like to explain more into that. What I'm talking about is that when applying for a certain positions, the kind of qualifications or work experience that we attach. We tend to attach unnecessary qualifications and work experiences because we want to impress our employer. Actually, we think that we're trying to impress our employer simply because we want to show them that we haven't been just chilling throughout the years, but we've been doing something. So someone might say, what are you talking about? For an example, if ever you are applying for a receptionist position at a medical surgery, and you decide that you're going to attach your diploma, your civil engineering diploma, for example, what is the employer supposed to do with that? That is unrelated to the receptionist position that you're trying to apply for. So if ever you are applying for a receptionist job, you would have to attach your admin experience and anything that you have been working where you've been working with people. So we need to learn to just attach qualifications and work experiences that are related to the job that we are currently applying for at that moment. The other problem lies within our references. Whenever we're drafting our CVs, we tend to just say, I was working for Mr. Praise, and then that particular manager, Rose Ubanbani, and then we just note it down. Now, as your future employer, I'm looking at your CV and I try to call that number. That number goes straight to voicemail. That looks dodgy to me. So the first thing we need to do as we choose our references, we need to first call the number to make sure that it's working. Because it happens that the manager might lose the phone. He or she might just decide to change his or her number. So you need to first call the reference and make sure that the number is actually working. The second thing is you need to prepare your reference. You need to tell that person that I'm actually noting you down as my reference because I'm applying for a certain job. Basically, because that particular manager you are putting down as your reference could have forgotten about you. I mean, let's say you are talking about a job you did last year in December. He has met 4 different new employees. Maybe he knows you physically, but he forgot your name or surname. So you need to call on him and tell him, remember, Jane, I work there as your cashier, and this is what's happening. So that they're not caught off guard, and that whenever they're talking to whoever they called, they know who exactly they're talking about. So I believe those are the silly little mistakes that we make as we're drafting our CVs.
Wow, that is so informative. Thank you so much, Jane. Sampo, what are your views from a skills development perspective?
Hi, Oslongu. Um, yes, let me delve deeper into this topic of skills development. And first and foremost, let me define skills for maybe someone who doesn't know. A skill is something that you are good at. It's something that you can do very well. For an example, we have car mechanics, we have plumbers, we have people who are doing gardening, we have hairdressers. Then those people, they are skilled um, in those areas. And to define skills development, let's go to the development part of it now, is to learn other disciplines and applying them into your discipline. Osnogu?
Yes, Kampo. Now, with that said, Kampo, the role of unemployment, right, among the youth is a whopping 52.8, which is relatively high compared to some of our SADC counterparts, right? Are then skills development initiatives brought to us by our government doing enough, though?
Osnogu, we have many skills development programs in this country. Unfortunately, these programs are not the real solution to the skills shortage that we have in this country. So I really believe if the government would shift focus from these programs and focus on TVET colleges, we are going somewhere. If the government can fund, if private sector can come to and sponsor these TVET colleges, make them prestigious like universities, I believe that young people, students will find these TVET colleges attractive and they will actually go get their skills there. So to answer your question, Osnongu, yes, the government is doing enough with these programs, but the real solution to our problem of skilled, to our shortage of skilled people in this country is TVET colleges.
Thank you so much, Sonko. That's very, very informative. Regine, you earlier touched on CVs. What do you think is the biggest barrier for entry when it comes to jobs for the youth?
Okay, I was no good. The problem lies with work experience, basically, because as a youth person, I have my degree or diploma from university and college, and I have my perfect CV. I've done all the right things, and I start looking for jobs. Now, the problem is employers are actually looking for people with experience. They don't want to spend money training you before you get used to the job or you know the job by head. Now, this is where volunteering comes in. We as the youth don't take volunteering serious. A lot of us tend to say, I don't want to work without getting paid. But volunteering is very, very, very important. I can tell you this, also, that I am here today and I work as a peer educator because I once volunteered at Lab Life. That's why I was hired today. So volunteering is very important. Firstly, as you volunteer, you get to have work experience, something that an employer is looking for. Secondly, you are also building your CV because an empty CV is unattractive. A CV with just a qualification is unattractive, unfortunately. Thirdly, you are putting yourself one step within the company because employers actually start within the company before they go outside. This means when they are looking for employees, before they can advertise the post outside, they start looking in. They start with their volunteers. They look up to them and say, as Nonku, we are looking for so and so, and you have those qualifications, and we would like to have you for an interview. Now, because you've been working with these people, possibilities that you're going to ace the interview because you'll be comfortable with them. So we need to start volunteering. Now, if ever you decide to volunteer, you need to remember two things. Firstly, you need to go to a company that's close home. If ever you'll be spending transport, make sure that it's not over 50 rand. Secondly, there's nothing wrong with asking your employer if you can come twice a week. Basically, just to let them know that can I only just come twice a week to work as I'll be volunteering. They will understand because they know that they're not paying you. It's not a matter of how many times you come to work, it's the matter of them noticing your presence the time you come to work. It's about working hard and impressing them so that they consider you when they look for someone.
That's absolutely amazing advice, in all honesty. Now, I'd like to touch back with Sompo. So back to you. How do we then fast track skills and development to ensure that we actually equip the youth to be absorbers to the labor market or to even start their own businesses?
Osnongo, unfortunately, skill alone is you need to yoke skill together with something. I have these three subjects. I call them commandments. And the first one, the most important one of them three, it says, you need to know how to sell the value of your product or service. They say if you don't know how to sell, you don't have a business. And I have this beautiful book here by Apostle Simon Mokwena. The title is 30 Business Commandments. And I like how he covers this subject of sales. And it's in commandment number 20, where it talks about mastering the art of selling. This page over here, it talks about a research that was done by professors at a university onto why approximately 70 to 80% of small businesses are failing within 5 years. And the research was done in the community of previously disadvantaged communities. I beg yours. In South Africa, the research was done in Black people. So they said, why are Black businesses failing within 5 years? And the answer is lack of salesmanship. You need to know how to sell your product. If you don't know how to sell, go to school or go to YouTube. Teach yourself there. Watch people how they sell their products. That was commandment number one. And it's very important. And then commandment number two, that you need to yoke together with your skill, is financial management. You know, I have my own business and I am not a numbers person. You know that finance is numbers, numbers, numbers. I'm from the engineering background, but I realized that financial management is very critical to in the running of my entity. So I went and I learned these three financial statements: your income statement, your statement of cash flow, your balance sheet. They are not difficult as you do. thing. You can do it, young person. Go to school and learn financial management. It is very important for you to run your company with that knowledge. And they say these three are a window into your company's finances. If you don't know your finances, you are in the dark. And I like how Apostle Mokwena puts it in his book. He says, without proper management of all your business finances, you may end up bankrupt before you know it because you are in the dark about your finances. So that was commandment number 2 that I have for you, that you need to work together with your skill. The last one, it's marketing. You need to know how to put your business out there. And fortunately, marketing has become cheaper, has become more specific over the years. And it's largely because of digital marketing. People have migrated from traditional marketing into digital marketing. Your small business, I assure you, it can afford digital marketing. So once you have learned those 3 commandments that I told you about, you would realize that, you have set yourself in a path of entrepreneurship. So yes, you need to learn those 3 commandments.
Wow. I hope the youth out there is definitely taking notes, because also that's one of my favorite books, Plumpo. Now, Mr. Mshanga, firstly, thank you so much for joining us. But I'm sure everyone is eager to find out exactly who is Mr. Clement Mshanga. Could you briefly just tell us a bit about yourself, sir?
All right. Thank you very much once again for according me this opportunity to interact with you on a very special day where South Africa, and I'd say Africa as a whole, get to recognize the role of the youth in society. I'll quote from Frans Fanon's book, The Wretched of the Earth, where he says that every generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. So that's what we are here for. We've got a purpose as youth. A brief background about myself: I'm Clement Mshanga. I was born and bred in Zimbabwe. I'm Zimbabwean. I lost my father when I was just about 8 months old. And then I lost my mother when I was about 15 years. So I had to be adopted by my aunt, who was my father's sister. So she's the one who raised me. And I was staying in this farm setup. So for one to go to school, we had to work in the fields. We had to gather cattle. I learned to milk cows at the age of 11, 12 years. I knew how to milk a cow. So I know most of you guys have no idea where the milk comes from. You only see it when you are picking it from Woolworths or Pick and Pay. So I had that kind of background on how to even hunt, wild animals, that sometimes if there is no meat to cook in the house, you have to kill the springboks that you see in the field and in your impalas, But so through that, I then got to a point where I passed what we call O-level in Zimbabwe. That's ordinary level, where you do a number of subjects, plus up to 9 or 10 subjects that one can do. When you finish that, then you can either take any vocational training that you want to do, get employed, mostly in government departments and the like. Then there's what we call the advanced level, which people call Form 6. That's what now sets you for your university entry, and at Form 6 you only do 3 subjects, depending which combinations you want to do. For those who want to be doctors, then that's when they choose mathematics, physics, and chemistry. So you only do 3 subjects at advanced level, and that's what then sets you into university. So because of the background that I didn't have resources, I was told then when I got to O level that no, we cannot take you further because we don't have money. So I'm just trying to cut off the story short so that I don't take a lot of your time. So with that happening, then I had to look for employment. And when I did get to be employed by the telecoms in Zimbabwe then, I said to myself, I've always set my mind that I wanna improve myself. I want to take myself back to school. So I then enrolled for what we call night school. So I would work during the day. After work at 5, I go to school from 5:30 until 7:30. You know, so I did my A level, then I didn't get enough points to then go to university at that time because it's a very demanding program to do Form 6. So to be like part time is very difficult. So when I did that, then I had to look into the space of saying what professional course can I get myself into. That's when then I had to do. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Mhlanga, please carry on. My apologies for that.
Okay, yeah. So then when I had to do, after doing my A levels, like to do a professional course, still I'm working and I've got nobody who's taking me to any school or paying for me. But I had to say from the little money that I'm being paid as a salary, I now need to start taking myself to school. That's when now I enrolled to do the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. As you know, CIM is the marketing qualification that gives you a marketing status where you become a chartered marketer. And I pursued it with nobody paying for me. So I had to budget from the little income that I was getting then that, you know what, whatever little money that is coming in my pocket, I'm not going to, you know, fall for peer pressure like my fellows who are probably buying fancy jeans, fancy watches or fancy shirts and all that. You know, because I was looking at a bigger picture. And that's what I think is very important for anyone else listening out there, that sometimes when you are young, what's important for you is to have a vision in life where you want to take yourself to, regardless of your circumstances. That's why Sam says that life is 10% of what happened and 90% of what you can do. So, of utmost respect, I also tell a lot of youths now that the biggest drawback of this generation is this entitlement. We are very self-entitled. We think we deserve everything, and everything must come to us for free. So that's where the youth of today probably is losing sight if you were to compare with the youth of the 70s generation that then brought us this holiday. Of today, people are so much entitled. They don't want to work, they want to do this and that because they think, no, I don't deserve this. I need to work in a job where I must just earn 30,000 or 40,000 a month. Whether I have experience or not, that's another thing because I'm born in South Africa, so I deserve that. That's where the problem comes in. So that mindset shifting is very important for one to be able now to say, how best can I improve from where I am sitting as a person? So that's what has seen me, because I looked at my background and I realized, yes, I've got nothing. I've not inherited anything in my life. I did not inherit anything. So with starting to work, I also had to start buying my own blanket. I had to buy my own pot where I'm going to make pap from, you know. So you start from there, and yes, you don't have any luxuries that you are enjoying or exposed to. But you still set your mind up and say, you know what, this is my vision. I want to go to this particular space in life. And along the way, yes, opportunities started coming in. Because as you interact with people, like when I was attending and doing the CIM, it attracted a lot of people who were already established in the marketing and sales fields in different companies. So some will look at you and say, but this young person has got potential. What are you doing at the moment? You tell them, okay, fine, give us your CV. They actually speak for you to their own management team and say, guys, I think there's this young guy that can bring on board whom we think who can add value to the organization. So that also shaped me and helped me until I got to finish that program. And then later on, I was still not satisfied. That's when I had to look into doing a BCom, marketing management. Is my brother who was talking earlier that he said that marketing is very important. Because now even if you want to become an entrepreneur, you must be able to sell. You must be able to convince me that this is going to work for me. You know, so that if you really polish your skills, you'll be able to sell snow to the Eskimos. You know, people who stay in Iceland, you can be able to sell snow to them and they'll buy it from you. So once you get to that level, then it means now you are able to establish a business. And with that happening, then I also had to look after doing the BCom marketing management. I had the privilege now then to move into banking in Zimbabwe. I worked for a financial services company where we banks under the same company, insurance side, asset management, investments. So you learn to understand how money works and how economies are structured and where the money comes from, basically, so many of the economies. So by the time that I managed to move to South Africa, when our economy kept on tinkering and going down, I got the privilege of also being exposed to consulting, business consulting this side, you know. So it has helped me also understand now how one should be able to start from how do I start a business and what are the prerequisites in the process of setting up a business. What are the challenges that are most likely to come my way? How do I overcome them? And how do I become disciplined and level-headed even when the time when I might get $1 million coming in my account, so that I all of a sudden don't go and blow that 1 million in scent and drinking champagne. You know? So last year then I had to so last year I had to enroll with UNISA School of Business Leadership, which is a mid-range, and I had to do the Advanced Strategic Management program. It's an NQF Level 7 program. I will encourage anybody who's trying to be in business or who wants to run a business or who are in management. That's one course that makes you think outside the box. Because the problem with a lot of qualifications is that they're traditional. So you're just qualified to become someone who does marketing or who just does business management, and you end there. But with Advanced Strategic Management from UNISA, School of Business Leadership, it then makes you and provokes your thinking on then what makes you have a competitive advantage above the rest of your peers in the marketplace and in the business space. So then it makes you get to understand how, as a business, you create what we call competitive advantage. You know, so we then started our own company here in South Africa with a consulting company called Darama Management Consultants. We're a consulting firm where we offer accounting, auditing, tax, business development services from your business plans to turnaround strategies to business re-engineering processes, your marketing plans, feasibility studies, research and development. We also now got into the space where we are now offering data management services through the cloud management services to deal with Metro 5. So if you get a mine or a department that needs information managed, we are in that space now also where we can manage data for you so that you don't lose your company information. So yes, I've got interest then in other businesses, which includes technology, where I'm a director in a company called Wired Smart, where we do your security camera installations, we do your smart TV connections, your sound systems. That's another business that I'm involved in. Then I also, out of interest, to also study logistics. You know, I had to do logistics course with UNISA as well, but mine is more on the imports and exports. because I understood the environment that we are in now, that we are becoming a global village, and there's going to be a lot of movement of goods from one country to the other. So there's a lot of opportunities within logistics in general. Are you still guys hearing me?
Yes.
Wow.
And we are extremely inspired, and I'm sure everybody right now is sitting at the edge of their seat, listening attentively. We are already getting in so many questions for Mr. Mhlanga from our comments. This one is from Zama, and it reads, in these times of COVID-19, where the world is evolving and certain jobs are actually becoming redundant, what advice, Mr. Mhlanga, would you give to a young person trying to develop a skill or studying for a qualification with hopes of getting a job?
Sorry, Ms. Convener, may you repeat that question because your network was quite bad.
Oh, okay. It reads, in these times of COVID-19, where the world and certain jobs are becoming redundant, what advice would you give to a young person to develop a relevant skill or studying for a qualification with hopes of getting a job?
Okay.
That is the question, sir, from Zama, posed to you. What advice would you give?
All right. I'll still say that any course out there is still important. But what is important now is whatever qualification one can do, you now need to also embrace the changes that the environment is providing. That's why there's a very, very important statement that was once made by some founding American fathers that says you either adapt or you die. So with the advent of COVID-19, we either adapt and make the changes that are necessary now, or we die and say, what can we do? So for young people, I'll throw this as a matter of an example. Let's say you pursuing education, you want to be an educator to qualify as a school teacher. You do that, and then you qualify as a school teacher. And now there's COVID, when most schools or parents now are being given the power to choose whether my child should go to school or not. So what I would say to someone now, you're not going to become a redundant qualified school teacher at home. But now what you now need to look at is now then, how do I move into the digital space of teaching? Because now my brother Ricket or my sister Queen or my brother Aaron might say, I don't want my son to go to school because of this exposure to COVID, but I want a tutor who can teach my son or my daughter online. Yes. So then that means that Usisiloni is able to be understanding how Zoom works or how webinars work, so that now she's able to take my son or my daughter through lessons on a daily basis online. So you see, the teaching qualification has not become redundant. It's only now calling you as a young person to just be innovative. So if you're innovative, you think outside the box, then you move into that space where you're able to still offer the skills and offer your line of expertise with enhancement of technology. So we need to understand that principle in life, that we either adapt or we die. But in every single qualification that we might be holding now, we need to constantly look at how best do we improve from where we are. What is that the market and the world is offering now? Because remember, in as much as I'm sitting here, whoever thought about this, that one day we can actually have such kind of a platform where I'm in Pretoria My brother Aaron is in Pumalanga. My brother Ricket is in Northern Cape here. My sister Nona, I think she's also in the northern in northwest of Northern Cape. But we are all interacting at the same time.
Yes.
That's what technology is doing to us. So it's very important then that we adapt. And with that adaptation, we then have to look at the ways on how do we add value to the market. Because now, if you look at it, 5 years ago, there was nothing called Mr. Delivery. But now, all of a sudden, we are not even going to restaurants now, we are just ordering food on an app. And with you ordering food from an app, all these commercial businesses have not shut down. McDonald's still delivers, Steers is still delivering, Spare is delivering to your doorsteps, Fisherways is bringing fish into your home. You see, that's what innovation makes you become a trendsetter. Once you become a trendsetter, then it means that you're going to always be the one who makes money and other people are going to try and follow you. So there are no courses that I would ever call redundant. It's all about choose the young person to say, when I study this kind of program, how best do I improve myself so that I can also match the changing environment, which you call change management.
Thank you so much. That is powerful. We either adapt or you die. Regine, I think you have a question there for Mr. Plana.
Yes, I have a question, but my question is actually for Abuti Shompo, because Mr. Clement said that he studied a course at UNISA for business, and Abuti Shompo said that he actually learned his financial management through websites and books. So I would like to ask him, what can he recommend for someone who actually can't afford to go to school for financial management but wants to study this because he or she has opened her own company?
Well, that's a powerful question, Ausri Jane. You know what? I did not go to school for financial management because I saw that information in this day and age it's available. Like we are bombarded with information each and every day, and you've got to see, you've got to choose what kind of information do you want. So I was on internet. I learned financial management on the internet. I was on YouTube watching those tutorials. They'll teach me how to do this 3 financial statements. And like you said, I was reading books. So learning is not only about going to school and sitting in class behind a desk. You can learn at the comfort of your home.
Thank you very much, Abid Shampa.
Yes, if I can just ask, I'll Nonku,
Yes.
Mr. Mhlanga a question. I'm very interested in his background because I believe there are lots of young people who are going through what he went through, like losing both your parents. It's not easy. So I'm wondering what kept him going because at some point in life you've got to motivate yourself. You've got to be independent and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. So Mr. Mhlanga, what kept you going? You are here, you are a very successful businessman. How did you do it?
Unfortunately, Abu Trumpo, Mr. Mhlanga just got disconnected, but I believe he's trying to log in as we speak.
Oh.
Okay, so whilst we wait for Mr. Mhlanga, I would like to pose another question. Actually, no, there's actually a question from our comments here, and it's from Deepo Gonyane. Maybe one of you two could answer the question. It's reads with regards to COVID-19 impacting the economy, which is leading to businesses either downsizing or closing down. From your perspective, Regine or Tampo, how can one prepare themselves for the possibility of losing their jobs or income?
You know what? I think you should look at what you know. Look at your skill. You know, um, some time back also James said something very powerful. Your career must work both ways. It can go to your career path, it can go to the entrepreneurship area. So you've got to really sit down and think. Like Mr. Mhlanga said, innovation. Think. Think out of the box. So yeah, that's really my answer. You've got to think out of the box. You've got to really consider business because it is the answer to our economic troubles.
Beautiful, beautiful. Regine, would you then have another question? Is there a question that you have, maybe for your counterpart?
Um, I actually don't have a question, but I'd like to add on to something. After drafting your CV, you get called for an interview. I'd like us to understand that times are changing, just like Ms. Damshanga said that we are changing and we are going into a new world. And I'd like to make the viewers aware that we don't only go into interviews face to face, but actually interviews are now being conducted via Zoom and via telephone. So those are the things that we need to prepare ourselves for. Just in case you're called in for an interview via Zoom, make sure that your background noise is turned down. Make sure that you're in a quiet place where your interviewer can hear you and you can hear your interviewer. Make sure that you're also sitting up straight because body language is very important, guys. Someone can see from your body language if ever someone can see from your body language if ever you are confident about whatever you're saying. You know, Alsinongu, on Sunday, I was listening to Ndate's service, and he said something about fear. He said that fear is the reason why we tend to ruin or destroy what we already have. And I linked this to actually interviews that once you are called in for an interview, your future employer is actually impressed about your CV. This means you're one step in. So we need to stop letting fear take over. We need to sit back, relax. As long as you are prepared, just be yourself and let the fear go. And that's what I like. Want our viewers to know. To don't let fear take over, guys.
Wow, absolutely amazing. That's so inspiring. Mr. Mshana, are you back, sir? I believe Mr. Mshana is not back. All right, so I had a question for Mr. Mshana, but now I'd just like to pose it to you, Shompo, and you, Regine. You know, for me personally, I found that networking is absolutely crucial in business. But what's your take? What are some ways that one can go about it effectively? Um, what are some ways that we can actually go about networking effectively? And I pose this to both you, Regine, and Shompo.
I think that you need to first look at the sector that you are in, firstly. And I think that the only way you can network is when you surround yourself with the people that are in the same sector as you. That means you need to perhaps attend events, seminars of whatever sector that you are in. I think that the only way you can network is when you know those people, whether it's on a personal level or just on social media. You follow these people, and I believe that these people will always give hints of where they are, what events they're hosting, and new ways where you can just evolve yourself in the sector that you're currently in.
Wow,
Great.
that's beautiful. Beautiful, also, Jane. The question that I wanted to ask Regine is, we are very active on social media. How can it, be a barrier to you getting a job, as Regine? Whatever that you post, how can it be a barrier to you getting a job?
Now, this is a good question. Thank you, Abu Shampo. We as the youth we take it for granted of what we post on social media. Companies want to I can say they have specific people and specific characters they want in their company. So we need to be very specific of what we post. For example, I know of a manager of a certain bank that once shared a racist post, and he was actually suspended for that simply because the bank was also seen as a racist company for hiring someone who was a racist. So we need to really, really be careful because once your future employer has your CV, he or she actually goes on social media to check your account, to check whatever you're posting, so that he is sure of this is the same person that I need in my company. This person is going to represent my company in a correct manner.
Wow, that's very powerful.
Very,
Um,
very
I believe Mr. Msanga is back. Ausnonku.
Hi, Mr. Mchanga, are you back with us?
The
Can
sound.
can you hear us, Mr. Mchanga?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay. There was a question earlier on. It was from one of our viewers here on Facebook, and it was directed to you. It reads, with COVID-19 impacting the economy, which is leading to businesses either downsizing or closing down, from your perspective, how can one prepare themselves for the possibility of losing their jobs?
COVID-19 is not going to be here permanently. That's one thing that I might want to throw out there, so that I ameliorate the fear of the unknown that maybe life is going to just all of a sudden end because of COVID-19. Just take cognizance that pharmaceuticals out there are busy trying to just get a vaccine. Once the vaccine is found, COVID-19 is just going to be any other disease which will be treatable. So yes, I understand the fear, and yes, companies are retrenching. One should be in a position to go back again to that keyword we spoke earlier about, which is to adapt. You now need to look into what is it that I have as expenses, and from my current income, if I'm gonna go for the next 4 months, 5 months, 6 months without an income, how am I going to survive? And in the same space, be yourself. You now need to work more on your mental strength and capacity, and put blinkers to what society says. I'm gonna say to you that look, you are staying in a BCD place. Now you are downgrading to go home to stay with your parents, or to actually go to a cheaper place. That shouldn't affect you. You should actually be able to stay for this. You must look at it as a temporal setback. That for the next few weeks or so or months to come, if I happen to lose my job, this is what I'm likely to face. But within that same breath, I then say to you, and I challenge you as a young person, say, you have the power in you that God has given you, which is that creative power. You need not to look at what can I do with even a last month's salary. What is it that I can start selling now? That then makes sure that I'm not going to be that kind of a person who will say, Ish, I don't have money now and I'm stuck and I don't even know what to do. And don't be afraid to lose things in the process. You might lose your car, you might lose your house if you are paying a bond, you might get yourself on contracts cancelled. So in the same breath, you also need to check with your own bank and start to see if you can probably have an insurance which then protects you against the loss of income. So that in the event that you lose your job, there are those vital debit orders that are going out now that if you don't manage them, even when you lose your job, they're also going to affect your own credit rating in the future. So now you need to look into that bigger picture and say, what is it that, which bank am I using? You go to the bank, speak to your account manager. Is there an insurance like this? Because I know FNB does offer something like that, and some bank does offer something like that. Can I have myself covered against the loss of income? Then they'll tell you how much premium you may start paying towards that. So that in the event, if the eventuality does come where you lose your job, now all of a sudden you're no longer running away from every call that you don't know, or any 011 number that you see, or 086 whatever number, 021 number. Now you're running away because you're thinking, hey, they want to repossess my car, or they want to take this and that. So it's what we need to face now as people and say, how do we prepare ourselves for those who get affected? But within the same environment, I also want to urge you now to still use that ingenuity, the creative power in you. Be innovative. Show your employer that they still need you. Because that's from like what my sister said, Jane, earlier, that she actually started volunteering. So sometimes we as the youth, we need to go out there and show people that, you know what, even if it push comes to shove, people must sit down with the top management and say, hey guys, we cannot afford to lose Uri Jane here. We cannot afford to Sinoni here. What can we do? What can we create for this person to still be part of our company? You understand? So sometimes what you're offering as an individual, as a youth, show people the eagerness. Don't always say, I'm not paid for this. No, my job does not allow me to make tea for you, this and that. Show people that you are very valuable. Sometimes that's what carries the day for us. And sometimes we don't get that. So, yes, with COVID in our faces, yes, I have still lots of retrenchment happening. One is just have to look at what is it that I can do at workplace, what is it that I can adjust and say to the company, I can still do this and that at home, working from home, or I can do with a cut salary. If a reduced salary is going to be, for now, help me push until next year, I'll just have to adjust on my own personal lifestyle, cut off going to restaurants and trying to be on holidays all the time if the money is not there. Just try and reduce that. Then you'll be able to carry the day. But what I want to encourage you guys as the youth is that with the same power that you showed 4 years ago when you stood up and say fees must fall, it's the same power that we also need to embrace now and stand up and say to the government, what is it that we can do as the youth that can also change and give us opportunities even with this COVID-19? That when you lose your job, there's something that you can still look into doing business. I know not everybody is cut out to be a business person, but we need to look into, if I was to tell you, ladies and gentlemen on this platform, I still feel that we as the youth of today, according to the word that I gave you earlier, Frans Fanon, we need to still push for the constitutional amendment, which then result in us as Black people and as people of South Africa owning the land, because that's where the real wealth is. So yes. My brother Ricket does not necessarily have to go to work every day, but if he was to get land, which he can actually make productive, he might actually realize that he does not need to get a job where he gets paid every day. But if we are able to say, how do we now get to move forward? Real estate. And real estate, that's when we are able to own buildings and owning properties. But those properties are being built on land. Okay. Now, who owns that land? That land is not in the hands of us as Black people. And if you look at South African statistics, you realize that out of 94% of this country's arable land, the land that is suitable for production, is owned only by 4% of South Africa's population. And that 4% is white people. not blacks.
Wow.
So my clarion call to you, my esteemed friends and guests on this platform, is let's push for government to amend the constitution so that most land can come into the hands of black people. Because right now, my sister Noni here, she just drives to Woolworths. That's where she's buying her tomatoes. That's where she's buying her chickens. That's where she's getting her onions from, right?
Yeah.
But has it ever crossed your minds, guys, that how much money are these farmers making from those tomatoes, from those onions, from the garlic that we are buying from Woolworths or Pick and Pay or Checkers?
So true. Mr. Mshana, in all honesty, thank you so much. Wow. How powerful was this story? How powerful was this? Thank you so much. Thank you again to our panel for such a stimulating, thought-provoking session. Mr. Mshana, thank you again. Mr. Mshana, if someone would like to connect with you, sir, how can they go about doing that?
I'm on, I think on Facebook, my account is almost full on Facebook, so I won't be able to accept more friends. But I can give you my contact numbers for those who might want to find me on WhatsApp or give me a call. I'm on 074 950 1614. I will repeat the number 074 950 1614. That's for Clement Mhlanga. I'm on Twitter as well. It's at Seclem. My handle is at Seclem. I think it's at Seclem77 or at Seclem. I can't read, but I think it's Seclem77. That's my Twitter handle. Yeah, I think then email address for those who might want to drop email addresses for my work, whether you've got questions or you want to explore other avenues, you can drop me an email at clement.mhlanga, which is MHLANGA, at Ndarama, which is NDARAMA Consultants, which is one word, CONSULTAN. That's the one that ends with the NTS at the end. Consultants.co.za. That's my official business email address. So you can send your email if you want help in setting up a business and you want to understand how things are done. Ndarama. On the email there, Queen, can you please correct? It's Ndarama, not Ndalama. Ndarama. In terms of it's NDARAMA, because Ndarama in my language means wealth. It means mnoto. Kikumo.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have our band with some lovely tunes as we then transition to our next topic on abuse and discrimination with Aaron, Ivan, and our special guest. So stay tuned. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you again, Mr. Mhlanga.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're welcome. So am I free to go or I'm still gonna be here?
Free to go.
Enjoy your holidays, guys.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you.
Over to our band. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you to our amazing band. Those are some amazing tunes. Thank you so much. We will be back with our band again as we close off our Youth Fest. Apologies for the sound. We are having a bit of sound difficulties and it wasn't clear from the band side. All right, but welcome back. I am Nongudo Benesimani and I am your host today for the Youth Fest 2020. Welcome back. If you just joined us, where in the world have you been? You missed out on an amazing first session on skills development and unemployment with our spiritual proteges and our absolutely amazing guest, Mr. Shana. Remember though, you can still send through your questions and or comments by posting as we are live here on Facebook and Zoom, and we will get to them just before the end of our broadcast. Our final topic for this afternoon is one that comes deep at my heartstrings. It is one on abuse and discrimination, especially amongst young people. I now would like to welcome Ivan Zimani, who won the first, who has won the first youngest and Black Manager of the Year accolade. He received that in New York, Wall Street, and is now a senior manager in a financial services organization within the assignments and distribution space. Still one of the youngest Black managers. And then I have a phenomenal being, Aaron, who works in the entertainment industry, a victim of discrimination because of being so called different, but an absolutely proud gay person. Then, last but not least, I welcome our special guest, Machaka, a registered nurse, currently a lecturer at Free State School of Nursing, Eastern Cape College. Hello, hello. How is everybody doing?
Hi, Nangu. We are good yourself.
I'm good, thank you, Aaron. Hello, Machaka. Ivan, are you there?
Yeah. Hello, hello, hello. And how's it? Hope everything's going well.
Everything is going well, thank you, Ivan. So I think we're just missing just our specialist, but I'm sure she'll join us in just a bit. Oh, okay, no. Machaka is here. Machaka, would you just unmute your mic, please, from your side so that we can hear you? Okay, as we wait for Machaka to unmute, I would likely just move on and she will just join us when she's ready. All right, now, discrimination, being treated unfairly either because of your beliefs, the way you live, sexuality, or religion. People can be discriminated through verbal abuse, jokes, slurs, or even physical assault. And I believe that that also ties in well with abuse. I mean, South African youth especially suffer from discriminatory practices and some other form of abuse. Machaka, I would like you to please unmute your mic if possible. Okay, let's just move on. With young people, when young people are treated unfairly. Okay, she's just unmuted. Machaka, how are you? Hello, Machaka. All right, we don't seem to hear Machaka properly. Okay, let's move on. When young people are treated unfairly and discriminated against because of who they are, this could have a detrimental effect on their mental health, self-esteem, and life in general. Aaron, what would you advise a young person who has then experienced such? And could you share your story with us as well?
Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron. Nonku, first of all, I would like to define what is discrimination in simple terms. It's treating somebody unfairly. Well, as a young black person growing up in our community, I have been discriminated against just for being different. I felt more like being with girls instead of staying with boys. So every time when I go to the street, people call me names. However, that did not stop me being myself because I started off accepting who I was, and luckily enough, I got support from my family. So I would advise a person not to change who they are and teach people around you the right way and how things should be done. And then I believe that every habit which are being done by the people who are abusing others could be changed by constant practice good manners. Thank you. Asnamku? Asnamku? Hello? Ivan, can you hear me?
Powerful, powerful. Aaron, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you, Tunamku.
Great stuff. That was absolutely amazing, Aaron. Aaron, here's another question that I'd like to pose to you. What are some effects we can take to prevent discrimination? And I mean, we as the youth, what are some of the efforts that we can take to prevent discrimination and abuse in young people? What can our generation do to change the narrative?
To start with, discrimination is something that we cannot run away from it. However, it's up to us as the youth of today to change how we see and treat each other. We should treat each and every person with respect, and we should admire and so that every person has a different perspective of things. Every person is different to you, and we should also not be ignorant to people's backgrounds and culture. Thank you.
Yes, that's absolutely amazing. That is very powerful. I hope everybody is jotting down that wonderful advice. Ivan, I would like to move to you. Can you hear me, Ivan? All right. While we wait for Ivan, is Miss Machaka back with us? Can you hear me? Okay, so Aaron, it's just you and I for now, I suppose.
All right.
So there's a question I want there's a question that I wanted to pose to Machaka, but since she's not here, Aaron, since you have faced discrimination, I believe, and some or other abuse, you understand.
Yes.
Um, what impact does discrimination and abuse have on our youth? What impact does it have, whether it be physical, emotional, or spiritually? What impact does it have?
To start with, it increased the level of depression. It increased the level of stress and anxiety. It destroys your self esteem. And sometimes we do not expect to be discriminated against in a place like a church. So as a young person, sometimes you don't experience discrimination from your house or your community. You experience it from church, whereby as a young person, I'm a leader in church, but I am not given the platform to fulfill my pastoral anointing as a young person because I'm so told that I'm young, I cannot do certain things. So it kills me and it destroys my self esteem. Hence, I cannot face people because of what I'm being told that I cannot do certain stuff. And it leaves me confused and it leaves you with a scar that nobody can heal.
That's so true. So true. Thank you so much, Aaron. Ivan, I believe that you're back with us.
Yes, I'm back.
All right. Hello there. Ivan, to be where you are today, um, you must have come upon some form of discrimination or even some type of abuse. To be so high up on the corporate ladder, it must have been tough. How can a young person or how can young people challenge discrimination or abuse either at school, workplace, or communities?
Thank you, Noni. Um, I think for me, having obviously experienced some or other form of discrimination, but before I get to a personal account of the discrimination that I experienced, young people need to let their voices be heard. We need to speak up,
Yes.
and I don't think
Yes.
we do enough of that because we can no longer just accept being victims of circumstances. And I mean, in most organizations, they do offer channels via the human resources practices where they can address such discrimination. We live in a society that it is striving for equality, but that can only be reached if we speak up and speak out against discrimination. So I urge young people: do not let your voice be punitive. You must speak up.
Thank you so much, Ivan. That was very powerful. Ivan, is there a question that you might have on discrimination and abuse that you would like to pose to your fellow panelists
Well, look, before I pose a question, I just want to give you an account of how I had experienced discrimination. So years back, 5, 6 years ago, I became a leader of a sales business. I was asked to take over a business. It was a size, reasonably sized business. It had about 250 million worth of assets back then. And I was tasked to growing this business to at least to about a billion assets under management. Herein lies the discrimination, where when I took over that business, I wanted to change the name of the business to reflect a more African feel. So I wanted to call the business Batubili, which means people's first. Because if you put people first, the funds, the flows, as well as the revenue will follow. But I mean, if, at the very core and the very heart of a business is its people, right, or the people that it serves. So nonetheless, I went through the whole rigmarole of getting the name to be approved or the name change to be approved. And before I knew it, as we were about to launch and go live with the new name, I was told, no, we can't use the name by one of our executives who came in and said, no, we can't use the name because he's failing to pronounce it. Now, for me, that stuck with me because in a Pan African society in 2020, I mean, back then I suppose it was 2015 or whatever, but still in a Pan African society, it doesn't matter what you call your business because you want that business to represent your core values and the principal values. And we've since, I mean, since that business has done very well, extremely well, but we then decided, okay, we're not going to change the name of the business, but we're going to use the name Batubili as our slogan, right? So which then became a driver for us, and it drove us to incredible heights. And it just goes to show that whenever you're faced with some other form of discrimination, whether it be subtle or obvious, there's means and ways that you can navigate, you can definitely navigate that discrimination to your favor. And that's essentially what I did in that regard.
Thank you so much, Ivan. That's absolutely amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Do you perhaps have a question for your panelists, your fellow panelists?
Yeah. So, Aaron, I mean, I want to talk to you about this. Have you ever felt any form of marginalization I mean, let's forget about the church, but any place outside of the church, and how were you marginalized, or maybe felt somewhat abused by people out there? It could be, there's abuse in friendships as well. So it could be that a friend of yours was abusive, or a family member was abusive, and you were experiencing this for such a long time that for you it did not occur as abuse until somebody else pointed it out to you. Have you ever been in a situation like that, and how did you deal with that?
To start with, I was not accepted. I'm not accepted in my workplace. So it was very a sad place to be because you go to work, you have to be with those people for more than 50% of your time, and yet you don't so you're not acceptable. So what I did is that I started to love myself first. You know, before you could love somebody else, you have to love yourself. So as a person, I invested in myself and accepted who I am. And I said to myself, if people are not going to accept Aaron, then it's up to them. It is their loss. So with my personality that I've gained through my journey, my life, I became a person whereby I believed in who I am. And because of that, today I'm actually appreciated and wanted in my workplace. And I was even given a supervisor position just because of my personality. So what I would advise to people is that do not do not change who you are. In fact, just bring yourself up, blossom. Thank you so much, Evan.
Fantastic. We can definitely hear the public personality come through, brother.
That's how I am. Everybody around me needs to be happy.
Yes, absolutely. I love that question and wonderful answer, Aaron. Machaka, I believe Machaka is back with us. Hello, Machaka.
Machore, can you please unmute Machaka?
I think Machaka, my apologies for that. She might be.
Machaka has been unmuted. She can hear us. We should be able to hear her too.
Machaka, can you hear us? And if so, could you give us a signal that you're there? Because we'd love to. There's a couple of questions that are coming in here for you.
Nonku?
Yes.
She can hear us, but we can't hear her.
All right. Okay, that's very unfortunate. We would have loved to discuss some of these questions on discrimination and abuse, especially with someone who deals with such. But I'd like to pose this question to you, gentlemen, and we can just wrap things up from there. What from just you just sitting there, Aaron and Ivan, what are the types or forms of abuse and discrimination out there that are faced by young people? All right. So, for example, many people don't even understand that they're being discriminated. Some people don't even understand that they are being verbally abused because they, in their head or in their mentality, abuse just means being physically attacked. What are the types or forms of abuse and discrimination faced by young people?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, brother. So I think the youth, we need to, as a youth, we need to be cognizant of what abuse and discrimination is, right? So if you are constantly being mocked by your friends because you are too fat or too skinny or too short or too tall, it can get to a point where it is deemed as being, that behavior is deemed as being abusive. So that's one that we should always look out for. But also another one for a young corporate citizen who find themselves in the workplace, they could be receiving or experiencing a form of discrimination by not being heard in the boardroom. So whenever you have a comment or an input in a particular discussion, nobody really takes that seriously. They always marginalize you and push you to the side. Then you must know that that's also a form of discrimination, and that could elevate to abuse. And lastly, I mean, the company that we keep, our friends, family, and the people closest to us, we need to ensure that when we engage, we are respectful in the manner in which we engage, but also not to a point where we lose the essence of who we are. So we must always guard against people who are abusive, but in a subtle manner, and always speak out when you experience these things. And I thought I should just highlight that.
Thank you so much.
And do not let anybody to belittle you.
Yeah.
And do not be apologetic on everything that you do.
Definitely not. Hi, Nonku.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and you?
Machaka, we have been waiting for you. Machaka, can you hear us? Unfortunately, Machaka, we would have loved to have a chat with you, but we seem to have been having technical difficulties from your side. But in all honesty, this has been amazing. Wow, wow, wow. That was yet another absolutely empowering, powerful, groundbreaking session. Thank you to our amazing panelists. Thank you, Aaron. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Machaka. I know you tried your hardest. And thank you so much to the first panelists, Kampo, Rajane, and Mr. Mshanga. We have come to the end of our Youth Fest. Thank you so much, but most importantly, thank you, viewers. Thank you for joining us and participating. remember, I hope you remember that Youth Day is a pivotal reminder of the important role that young people play. We absolutely need to take up these roles as active and responsible citizens who are participants and leaders in the democratic structures and processes of Southern Africa and the world. So I hope that you were taking your notes, and I hope that you truly, truly were inspired as much as I was. Like I said, we have reached the end of Youth Fest 2020. Thank you to all our guests and thank you to you viewers. I now leave you with our closing act. I believe it is an a cappella group.
Amen. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to close the meeting now.